Let's talk about one of the most bizarre contradictions of being human.
Oh, there are so many. Where are we starting today?
Well, I mean, the fact that you're walking around right now with this 3-pound, infinitely adaptable masterpiece inside your skull.
Ah, right. The human brain.
Yeah, exactly. You have a brain that is constantly rewiring itself, right?
Yeah.
It's capable of contemplating the origin of the cosmos, solving these massive, complex equations, producing profound art.
Totally. It's a biological marvel.
But then what do most of us actually use this marvel for on, like, a random Tuesday afternoon?
Usually stressing over an unanswered email.
Exactly. Or, cultivating this low-grade ambient anxiety that we are somehow falling behind in life.
Yeah, we basically possess hardware that's designed for boundless exploration, but we tend to just leave it permanently stuck in survival mode.
Right.
And the irony is that society tells us we're thriving, because we have air conditioning and food delivery apps.
Yeah.
But internally, that ancient biological machinery is just spinning its wheels. It's searching for a real destination.
And that friction, that feeling of having this infinite capacity but feeling completely boxed in by a very finite daily routine, well, that is our mission today.
It's a big mission.
It is. So, welcome to a new deep dive. Today, we are taking a really comprehensive look at how to decode the formula for a deeply meaningful life.
We want to figure out how to master the tension between the daily grind we all have to participate in and those higher aspirations that keep us awake at night.
Right. And our roadmap for this comes from a stack of incredibly rich sources. We're examining excerpts from a philosophical discourse by Shrii P.R.Sarkar.
Right. It's titled Subjective Approach and Objective Adjustment.
Yeah. And we're also blending that with some fascinating complementary writings on, like, the biology of human evolution, neuroplasticity, and the mechanics of consciousness.
So if you're listening to this on your commute or, I don't know, while doing the dishes, and you've ever hit a wall where you just thought, is this really it?
Like, am I just working, buying things, and paying bills until it's over?
Exactly. If you felt that, this deep dive is going to hand you a very practical, almost mechanical framework for breaking out of that loop.
Yeah, I like to think of it as a user manual for operating your own consciousness.
A user manual is actually the perfect way to frame it, because any good manual starts by defining the operating environment.
Right. Before you turn it on, know where you are.
Exactly. So before we can even begin to talk about finding purpose or, managing daily stress, the sources demand that we understand the actual physics of the playing field.
The physics. Okay, let's unpack that.
Well, we need to dissect why a purely materialistic life, or surprisingly, even a purely intellectual life, so often leaves us feeling completely hollow.
Yeah, and the text maps out the human experience into 4 distinct stages of expression to explain this.
Right. Let's look at the first 2, which make up what the sources call the objective world.
Okay, so first, you have what's known in Sanskrit as kama, K-A-M-A.
Which is the physical realm.
Right. It's the drive to fulfill worldly desires. Securing shelter, acquiring wealth, basically getting our physical needs met.
And then following that is artha, which pulls us into the psychic world.
Mental hungers, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the desire to analyze things, to solve problems, to accumulate data. It covers everything happening in the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind.
So both kama and artha deal with objects, either physical things we can touch, like a house, or mental objects like ideas and concepts we can grasp.
Right. And here is the massive claim the text makes. And it really doesn't mince words here.
It definitely doesn't.
It says that in no sphere of human progress can the objective world, these physical and psychic pursuits, be treated as your ultimate goal.
Right. The sources insist that if you do that, you are structurally guaranteeing your own misery.
And the reasoning behind that claim is deeply rooted in actual physics. The text points out that the physical and psychic worlds are fundamentally bounded.
Bounded, like they have limits.
Yes, strict limitations. Even our universe, which seems mind-bogglingly vast to us, is technically limited. The sources argue that creation itself is defined by the movement of different waves.
Let's linger on that for a second because it's a crucial mechanical point. Everything in the physical universe, light, sound, matter, it all operates on wave frequencies.
Exactly. And by definition, a wave has a specific length.
Right. It has a crest and a trough. It has a beginning and an end.
Well, think about the implication of that. If everything in the objective world is made of waves, and waves have specific lengths, then lengths represent lines of demarcation.
Boundaries.
Yes, boundaries. The universe might be unimaginably huge, but because it is composed of these bounded wave structures, it is finite. It is not infinite.
And this leads to a fascinating psychological collision, because humans possess a consciousness that craves the infinite.
We really do. We have this bottomless, unquenchable thirst for more.
So what happens when you take an infinite human longing and try to cram it into a finite, bounded container?
The system either dilutes itself until it loses all identity, or the immense internal pressure causes a clash that destroys the structure from the inside out.
Oh, wow.
You simply cannot force the infinite out of a finite system. I mean, if you try to extract ultimate lasting fulfillment from a new car, a promotion, or even a prestigious academic degree.
The mathematical reality is that you will eventually hit the boundary of that object.
Exactly.
And the sources take this a step further with the concept that actually, well, it made me stop reading and just look up at the ceiling for a minute.
I know exactly which part you're talking about.
Yeah, the text states that the mind has an absolute tendency to take the shape of its object.
It's a terrifying and brilliant observation.
Right. If you accept a limited, objective thing as your ultimate goal in life, your consciousness literally metamorphoses into that object.
Whatever you fixate your ultimate attention upon dictates the dimensions of your reality.
Let's apply that to a modern scenario. Imagine someone whose absolute ultimate goal in life is hitting a net worth of, say, $2 million.
A very common goal.
Yeah, right. And they orient their entire existence around that number. According to this framework, their mind takes the shape of a bank ledger.
It shrinks to fit the boundary of that financial goal.
And the tragedy is, once they finally hit that number, they feel entirely lost. They hit a wall.
Because they can't move forward. Their entire psychological architecture was built to fit inside a box they just outgrew.
That metamorphosis explains so much of the modern midlife crisis, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. People successfully acquire the bounded object society told them to pursue, only to find their minds have taken the shape of a cage.
Which is why the sources are so adamant the physical and psychic worlds must be utilized. They are necessary for human welfare. But they can never be the ultimate desideratum, the final goal.
But consider the danger in interpreting that too literally.
What do you mean?
Well, if the physical and psychic worlds are bounded and we shouldn't make them our ultimate goal, the immediate temptation is to swing to the extreme opposite.
Oh, right. Like, do we just check out? Do we stop paying our rent, ignore our careers, abandon our families, and go sit on a mountaintop to avoid the bounded world entirely?
Exactly. But the philosophy of Shrii P.R.Sarkar strongly rejects that kind of escapism. Abandoning the world is just as detrimental as obsessing over it.
So how do we balance it?
To solve this, the text introduces a concept called objective adjustment.
Okay, objective adjustment.
Yes, this is the practical tool for managing our daily work, our physical needs, and our social duties without being consumed by them.
And the text uses an incredibly vivid analogy here, which I love. The runway.
The runway is perfect.
Right, think about a commercial aircraft. That plane is engineered for the sky. Its entire purpose is to experience the vast, open atmosphere.
But an aircraft cannot just levitate out of a hangar.
No, it absolutely requires the hard, concrete friction and the sheer momentum provided by the runway to achieve liftoff.
And in this analogy, the physical body, our material resources, our careers, and our societal structures, these make up our runway.
We can't achieve any sort of higher consciousness, or what the text calls purposeful living, without managing that physical environment first.
Exactly. You cannot contemplate the infinite if you're starving, or if your society is in chaotic collapse. Life takes flight in the subjective realm, but it requires a perfectly maintained objective runway to build the necessary speed.
So what does maintaining that runway actually look like in practice? How do we practice objective adjustment?
Well, the sources define it as organizing our individual lives and society as a whole by perfectly matching inherent skills to necessary tasks.
It's about radical alignment.
Yes. The text gives examples. A person with immense physical strength in their arms should be assigned to something like hammering. Someone with powerful legs should be cycling or doing courier work.
And the same logic applies to the psychic realm, right?
Right. A brain naturally wired for complex mathematics should be utilized in mathematics. A brain wired for chemical analysis should be working in chemistry.
The goal is to create an adjustment amongst all physical and psychic objects so that society functions perfectly and the individual remains balanced.
Actually, this idea of organizing society to match skills to needs, minimizing friction, it's a core part of what the sources refer to as PROUT, the progressive utilization theory.
Wait, progressive utilization theory? So it's about utilizing human potential efficiently.
Exactly. Keep the best of your discussion progressive and optimistic, right? Prout is a socioeconomic framework that ensures everyone thrives objectively, so we all have the mental bandwidth for higher subjective things.
I have to challenge this a little bit, though. On paper, that sounds like a hyper-efficient utopia. But in practice, isn't that just turning human beings into highly optimized cogs in a machine?
I can see why you'd ask that.
Like, if I'm assigned to do math just because I'm good at it, where is my freedom? How does this adjustment actually free us up for purposeful living?
That fear of becoming a machine is entirely valid, especially in our current corporate culture. But the text's version of objective adjustment and the whole Prout framework isn't about extracting maximum labor from you.
What is it about, then?
It is about minimizing the friction of survival. Think about what happens when society or your own life is maladjusted.
Okay.
If you are a natural artist forced to do data entry to survive, or a brilliant strategist forced into manual labor, you spend a massive amount of your daily energy just fighting your environment.
Oh, I see. You're burning all your fuel while still parked on the tarmac.
Exactly. The sheer mental exhaustion of forcing a square peg into a round hole every single day leaves you with zero cognitive bandwidth for anything else.
So exactly the opposite of a machine. Objective adjustment is about honoring your natural human geometry.
Right. When your daily work aligns with your inherent aptitudes, you quench your worldly and psychic wants efficiently. You satisfy the requirements of the objective world quickly and smoothly.
By managing the runway so well, you secure the necessary momentum, so your mind is entirely free to look up at the sky.
You satisfy the lower level needs without making them your permanent residence.
That makes a lot of sense. The goal isn't to work harder. The goal is to work so congruently that your daily responsibilities stop being a source of existential dread.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say we have the runway optimized. We are managing our daily duties with objective adjustment. Maybe society is embracing progressive utilization theory, and the friction is gone.
The ideal scenario.
Right. How do we actually pull back on the yoke and lift off?
The sources point to a massive shift in the timeline of human evolution to answer this. We have to look at the transition from biological adaptation to conscious mental evolution.
Right, because for millions of years before humans, evolution was primarily a slow biological grind. Organisms adapted over countless generations through physical mutations.
But with the advent of the human mind, the theater of evolution shifted dramatically.
And the sources attribute this shift to the emergence of the human I feeling, this profound, undeniable awareness of being a distinct self.
We still carry the ancient instincts, obviously, the fight-or-flight responses, the biological drives of our animal ancestors.
Sure, we still get hungry and scared.
But the radical upgrade is our ability to consciously intervene in those drives. We possess the unique capacity to restrain our impulses.
We can observe an emotion, interrogate it, and consciously redirect it.
Exactly. We can choose to take actions that are completely contrary to our base survival instincts, like sacrificing our own comfort for the sake of a stranger.
And most importantly, this I feeling gives us the capacity for what the text calls dhyana.
Yes, dhyana translates roughly to goal-directed concentration. It is the ability to focus the flow of your thought toward a chosen ideal rather than just reacting to whatever stimulus is flashing in front of you.
And the modern science, cited alongside the philosophy, confirms the mechanics of this beautifully. The human brain is disproportionately large, but its real superpower is neuroplasticity.
Right, the brain literally reorganizes its physical structure, its neural pathways, based on our experiences and our repeated thoughts.
We also experience neurogenesis, meaning we generate brand new neurons well into adulthood.
The biological implications of that are staggering. It means our hardware is specifically designed to be continuously updated by our software, by our conscious thoughts.
But the text points out a deeply tragic contradiction here. No machine ever designed by humanity can rival this living masterpiece of a brain, yet look at the state of humanity.
We are still plagued by internal anxiety, violent conflict, and social fragmentation.
Why is that, if we have this upgraded hardware?
This brings us to a critical warning in the text. It introduces the concept of the supreme operative principle.
The supreme operative principle.
This principle is described as a blind force. Think of it like electricity.
Electricity.
Yeah, electricity as raw state is a crude, blind power. If it is harnessed, guided, and utilized by human consciousness, it renders incredible service. It powers our hospitals and lights our homes.
But if electricity is left uncontrolled, it simply burns the house down.
Exactly. That is a phenomenal way to view our own internal drives. Our evolutionary momentum, our vast intellect, our physical energy. These are blind forces.
If we do not consciously direct them through dhyana, if we just let them run wild on default mode without a higher cognitive goal, they become destructive.
The friction, the anxiety, the restlessness is often that unguided evolutionary energy crashing into the walls of the objective world.
Because of our I feeling, our growth is no longer automatic. It must become deliberate. We are now required to actively steer the aircraft.
So let's put the pieces together.
Okay.
We have the runway paved through objective adjustment, minimizing the friction of daily survival.
Right.
We are actively steering our mental energy with deliberate conscious thought rather than letting our blind instincts run the show.
Now, we initiate liftoff. This is what the sources call the subjective approach.
This is the realm of Dharma, moving toward the ultimate spiritual stage of moksha, or liberation.
The subjective approach begins right inside your microcosmic mind and aims outward toward supreme cognition, or Paramapurusha.
It is the profound realization that the entire universe, with all its bounded wavelengths, is actually a metamorphosed expression of a singular, infinite, supreme consciousness.
However, and I love this part, the text delivers a hilarious and razor-sharp critique of how people usually mess this up.
Oh yes. It strongly warns against mistaking the hoarding of intellectual knowledge for actual spiritual growth.
The text notes that white ants, literally termites, often take shelter in books. But living inside a library doesn't make the termite wise.
It is a brilliant takedown of the modern obsession with information accumulation. We often trick ourselves into thinking that if we just read enough philosophy or memorize enough quotes, we've achieved enlightenment.
But that data is still just part of the objective world. It is bounded.
Exactly. The termite analogy hits so hard today. We think that constantly scrolling through articles, subscribing to 20 different newsletters, or binging self-help videos is making us evolved.
We are essentially just termites chewing through digital pages.
The text uses another great analogy to explain the alternative. The churning of curds or yogurt.
Right. When you churn curd, the process separates it into two distinct substances, butter and buttermilk.
The sources claim that yogis, those who actually practice the subjective approach and actively direct their consciousness, eat the butter.
They extract the true essence, the deep devotion, and the inner transformation.
Meanwhile, the so-called scholars, the people who just obsessively memorize the text without changing their internal state, are left drinking the buttermilk.
They are full of watery, empty facts. There's even a specific, almost petty jab in the text where it says Master Art students forget everything right after their exams because chemistry is a mystery, easy to learn, easy to forget.
Huh. As humorous as that jab is, the underlying message is profound. The true path to purposeful living is not a thorny, grueling road of endless academic striving or trying to out-intellectualize everyone around you.
The subjective approach is actually described as an incredibly pleasant journey of devotion and complete surrender.
And the word surrender is going to trigger some alarms for people.
But for sure. In our hustle culture, surrender sounds like weakness. It sounds like throwing your hands up and saying, I give up. Let the universe handle my inbox.
But surrender in this context is not the relinquishing of agency. It is a radical shift in perspective. The text compares it to a child depending on a parent.
When you stop obsessing over trying to control and dominate the limited objective world, and you instead ensconce yourself in what the text calls supreme excellence, you stop fighting the boundaries of the physical universe.
It is the difference between trying to play a single instrument louder than everyone else versus realizing you are the conductor of the entire orchestra.
You don't have to fight the music anymore because you are facilitating it. And the text makes an incredible promise here.
It does. It says that once a person truly enters this psycho-spiritual world, this subjective approach, the grueling struggle for adjustment completely disappears.
That is the ultimate payoff. You don't have to stress about adjusting to the psychic or physical world anymore because you realize the supreme entity is all-pervading.
It already exists in every single pore of the physical and psychic world.
The friction vanishes. This is the definition of purposeful living. You are no longer fighting the limitations of the physical world, the spreadsheet, the salary, the daily commute, because you recognize them as just temporary, bounded expressions of a much larger, infinite reality.
You are no longer driving the plane down the highway. You are finally flying.
And from the sky, the runway looks very small, but you respect it because you know it gave you the momentum to reach the clouds.
Exactly. And, the broader framework for this, building a society that actually supports this subjective flight for everyone, it's rooted in neo-humanism.
Neo-humanism?
Yes, a new ethics for future humanity. Because to make this world a better place for all to live with actual happiness and justice, we need that scientific spirituality.
Right, matching the inner subjective approach with the outer objective adjustment.
Precisely. And if anyone listening wants to firm their understanding of this, the sources suggest exploring more about neo-humanism and Prout.
Where can they do that?
You can join a Prout study circle or check out their YouTube channels like the Said Beepers Movement or the Next Human Project.
Oh, nice. And for the absolute original knowledge regarding this, they can visit Ananda Marga Publication, right? Or email them at ampsbooks@gmail.com.
Exactly. It's a progressive, highly optimistic path forward.
All right, let's land this plane and summarize the flight plan for everyone listening.
Sounds good.
A happy, deeply meaningful life is absolutely not about abandoning the physical world, ignoring your bills, or pretending you don't have biological needs.
It is about objective adjustment.
Yes. Your daily work, your social duties, your unique aptitudes, whether you are wired for complex chemistry, mathematical theory, or physical labor, these constitute your runway. You must engage with them and adjust them perfectly to build momentum.
But the critical takeaway is that you cannot stay on the runway forever. A perfectly optimized daily routine is not a life purpose.
The sky is the subjective approach. You must utilize your conscious thought, your highly evolved neuroplastic brain, and ultimately your capacity for devotion to elevate yourself beyond those basic instincts and limited material goals.
The responsibilities you face every day are not distractions preventing you from personal growth. If you manage them through objective adjustment, they are the exact friction required to build your speed for takeoff.
We spend so much time obsessing over climbing the ladder of success, only to realize the ladder was just the runway all along. Now it is time to build your wings.
You are operating a masterpiece. Don't leave it on default mode to be steered by the blind forces of evolution.
As you move through the rest of your week, I want you to sit with one final provocative thought. The sources issued a very clear mechanical warning earlier. Your mind absolutely takes the shape of the object you focus on most.
It physically and psychologically metamorphoses to match the boundaries of your ultimate goal.
So I challenge you to look at your daily calendar, check your screen time, and honestly evaluate where your deepest attention is going. Based on the hard data of your daily focus, what exact shape is your mind currently taking?
A powerful question.
And more importantly, is that the shape you want to carry with you when it is time to leave the runway and take to the sky?